I was sorting through a box of Thomas's old papers in the attic on a Saturday afternoon, preparing to finally donate his work clothes and organize the last remnants of his life, when I found a bank statement tucked inside an old folder labeled workshop receipts, a statement from Atlantic Commerce Bank showing an account number I didn't recognize with a balance of $87,450, dated just 2 months before Thomas died. My hands started trembling as I stared at those numbers, at my late husband's name printed clearly at the top, at monthly deposits spanning years that I'd never known about, never seen, never been told existed. I felt the room spin as I calculated quickly in my head. We'd been married for 41 years when Thomas died, and if this statement was real, it meant he'd been hiding a substantial amount of money from me throughout our marriage, money that should have been ours, money that could have changed our lives, money he'd kept secret while I'd worried about bills and stretched every dollar and believed we were building our future together. In that dusty attic, holding that single piece of paper, I realized I'd been married to a stranger. My name is Ann Williams, and I'm 72 years old. I live in a small brick house on Magnolia Street in Charleston, South Carolina, the house where my late husband Thomas and I raised our 2 children and built what I thought was an honest life together. Thomas died 18 months ago from a heart attack. He was 73, a construction supervisor who'd worked for the same company for 36 years. We'd been married for 41 years when he died, and I'd grieved him deeply, completely, believing our marriage had been built on honesty and partnership. Now I was learning that belief had been a lie. I sat on the attic floor holding that bank statement, reading it over and over, hoping I was misunderstanding, hoping there was some innocent explanation, but the evidence was clear. This was Thomas's account, his name, his social security number, and based on the transaction history visible on this single statement, money had been going into this account regularly, $800 here, $1,200 there, $600 the next month. If this had been going on for years, how much total money had Thomas hidden from me, and why? Why would he do this? I thought about our financial struggles over the years, the times we'd argued about money, about bills, about whether we could afford things for the kids, the times I'd worked extra hours as a nurse to help make ends meet, the times we'd put off home repairs or skipped vacations because we needed to save money, all while Thomas had been secretly siphoning money into a hidden account? If you've ever discovered that your entire marriage was built on financial deception, that the person you trusted most was living a double life with your shared resources, you know the particular devastation I felt. It's not just about the money, it's about the fundamental betrayal of partnership. I needed to understand the full scope of what Thomas had hidden from me, so I went to Atlantic Commerce Bank the following Monday morning. The branch was in a part of town I rarely visited, which perhaps explained why I'd never accidentally discovered this account. At the customer service desk, I showed them my identification and the bank statement. I'm Thomas Williams's widow. I found this statement among his papers. I need to access information about this account. The customer service representative, a young woman named Jennifer, looked at the statement and then at me with sympathy in her eyes. Mrs. Williams, I'm so sorry for your loss. Let me pull up the account information. She typed for a moment, then frowned slightly. I'm showing that this account was closed about 3 weeks after your husband's death. The balance was transferred out. Transferred where? To another account. I can see the routing number, but I'd need to contact that bank to get more details. Mrs. Williams, do you have your husband's death certificate and marriage certificate? I'll need those to provide you with account history. I have copies at home. Can I bring them this afternoon? Of course. I left the bank feeling nauseous. The account had been closed after Thomas died. Someone had transferred the money out. But who and how? I went home and found my marriage certificate and Thomas's death certificate, along with copies of other legal documents naming me as executor of his estate. Then I returned to the bank. Jennifer reviewed the documents and nodded. You're definitely entitled to this information. Let me print out the full account history for you. What she handed me 15 minutes later was devastating. The account had been opened in 1989, 33 years ago, just 8 years into our marriage. And for 33 years, Thomas had been making regular deposits. Most deposits ranged from $500 to $1,500 per month. Some months had no deposits, but on average, Thomas had been putting about $800 per month into this account. $800 per month for 33 years. That was over $316,000 in deposits alone, not counting any interest earned. And the final balance before the account was closed had been $87,450, which meant Thomas had also been making withdrawals over the years, large ones. The account history showed periodic large withdrawals, $15,000 here, $20,000 there, $30,000 another time. What had he been spending this money on? Jennifer, I said, trying to keep my voice steady, can you tell me who closed this account after my husband died? She looked at the screen. The closure was initiated by the co-account holder. Co-account holder? There was someone else on this account? Yes. The account was jointly held by Thomas Williams and, she paused, clearly uncomfortable, and Diane Williams. Diane Williams, Thomas's sister, my sister-in-law. Diane closed the account and transferred the money? Yes. 3 weeks after your husband's death, she came in with her own death certificate for Mr. Williams and closed the account. As a joint holder, she had the legal right to do so. I felt like I'd been punched. Thomas had a secret bank account, and his sister had been a co-holder, and after he died, Diane had taken the money, nearly $90,000, without telling me it existed. Where did she transfer the money? To an account at First Carolina Bank. I have the routing number here if you want to contact them. I took the information, thanked Jennifer, and walked out of the bank in a daze. Thomas and Diane had hidden this account from me for 33 years, and when Thomas died, Diane had simply taken all the money. I needed answers. I needed to understand what this meant, what Thomas had been doing with this money, why he'd hidden it from me. I called my son Marcus in Atlanta. When I told him what I discovered, he was shocked. Mama, Dad had a secret account with Aunt Diane with almost $90,000 in it? Yes, and she closed it after he died and took the money. That's theft. That money should have been part of Dad's estate. Legally, as a joint account holder, she had the right to take it. But Marcus, why did your father have a secret account? Where was this money coming from? What was he using it for? I don't know, Mama. Have you talked to Aunt Diane? Not yet. I'm afraid of what I'm going to hear. After hanging up with Marcus, I sat trying to make sense of this. Thomas and I had always kept our finances together. Joint checking account, joint savings account, everything shared. Or so I thought, but apparently Thomas had been secretly diverting money into this hidden account for our entire marriage. Money that could have helped us during hard times. Money that could have paid for our kids' college educations without loans. Money that could have given us a more comfortable retirement. Instead, he'd hidden it, and his sister had ended up with it. I knew I needed to confront Diane, but I dreaded it. Diane was 68, 4 years younger than Thomas had been. We'd always had a cordial but not particularly close relationship. She lived about 30 minutes away, and we saw each other at holidays and family events. I called her that evening. Diane, I need to talk to you about something important. Can I come by tomorrow? Of course, Anne. Is everything all right? We'll talk tomorrow. I arrived at Diane's house the next afternoon with copies of all the bank statements. She greeted me with a hug and ushered me into her living room. Anne, what's this about? You sounded upset on the phone. I pulled out the bank statements and placed them on her coffee table. I found these in Thomas's papers. He had a secret bank account with you for 33 years. Diane's face went pale. She picked up the statements, her hands shaking slightly. I see. You knew about this account. You were a co-holder. And after Thomas died, you closed it and took the money, almost $90,000. Money that should have been part of his estate. Money that should have come to me. Anne, I can explain. Then explain, because right now, all I know is that my husband hid money from me for our entire marriage, and his sister helped him do it, and then took that money after he died. Diane was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, Thomas asked me to open that account with him in 1989. He said he needed to keep some money separate, and he needed my help to manage it. Why? Why did he need a secret account? He said it was insurance, in case anything happened, in case you needed money and he wasn't around. That doesn't make sense. If it was for me, why hide it from me? Why not just save money in our regular accounts? Diane looked away. Anne, I think you need to understand something about Thomas. He was afraid. Afraid of what? Afraid of losing everything. His father lost everything in a bad business deal when Thomas was young. They almost lost their house. Thomas saw how it destroyed his father, how the stress of financial insecurity broke him. Thomas was terrified of that happening to him, to you and the kids. So he hid money. He built a secret emergency fund and never told me about it. He said it was a safety net, something no one could touch, no one could spend, that would always be there if you really needed it. But Diane, I could have needed it. There were times we struggled, times we couldn't pay for things, and he had nearly $100,000 hidden away. He did use it sometimes, Diane said quietly. I saw the withdrawal history. He took money out periodically. For what? She hesitated. I don't know all the details, but Anne, I think some of it went to help people, family members who needed money, friends who were in trouble. Thomas didn't want you to worry about it or feel obligated to help people we couldn't really afford to help. What people? What are you talking about? Your brother, for one. When Robert lost his job in 2008 and was about to lose his house, Thomas gave him $20,000 to catch up on his mortgage. I felt dizzy. My brother Robert had never mentioned anything about Thomas giving him money. Robert never told me that. Thomas made him promise not to tell you. He didn't want you to feel taken advantage of. Who else? Marcus, when he was in college. Thomas helped him with tuition several times when your savings fell short. Marcus knows about this account? No. Thomas would transfer money to Marcus and tell him it was from his regular salary. Marcus never knew about the secret account. What else, Diane? What else did Thomas use this money for? My surgery 5 years ago. When I needed that operation and didn't have health insurance, Thomas paid for it. $35,000. The revelations kept coming, each one like another punch. Thomas had been using this hidden money to help people, family, and friends without telling me, making financial decisions that affected our family without consulting me. Diane, I understand Thomas wanted to help people, but this should have been discussed with me. We were married. We were partners. He didn't have the right to hide money and make secret financial decisions. I know. He knew too. He felt guilty about it. Then why did he keep doing it? Because he couldn't help himself. When people needed help, Thomas couldn't say no. And he knew you'd worry about our own financial security if you knew he was giving money away. So instead, he just lied to me for 33 years? Diane had no answer for that. Why did you take the money after he died? I asked. Why didn't you tell me about this account? Thomas made me promise. Years ago, he made me promise that if anything happened to him, I'd close the account and use the money to help you if you needed it. He said to keep it as a backup fund for you. But you didn't give it to me. The account was closed 18 months ago. Where's the money now? Diane took a deep breath. It's in an account in my name. I've been keeping it in case you need it. In case I need it? Diane, I've been struggling. I've been living on Thomas's pension and Social Security, trying to make ends meet, worrying about having enough for medical expenses and home repairs. And you've had $90,000 that belong to my husband sitting in your account? I was going to tell you if you really needed it. I did really need it. I do need it. That money is mine, Diane. It was Thomas's money, and when he died, it should have come to me as part of his estate. I know. You're right. I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't know how to explain. You could have told me the truth. You could have said, Thomas had this account, here's the money, instead of hiding it from me for 18 months. Diane started crying. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll transfer the money to you, all of it. I'll do it today. How much is left? Almost all of it. I haven't touched it. It's earning interest. There's about $92,000 now. I felt exhausted, relieved that I'd get the money, but also devastated by the extent of the deception. My husband had lied to me for 33 years. His sister had continued the lie after his death. I want the money transferred by the end of the week, I said. All of it. I will, I promise. And Diane, I need you to tell me everything you know. Every person Thomas helped with this money. Every withdrawal you know about. I need to understand what my husband was doing with nearly $320,000 over 33 years. Over the next few weeks, Diane and I met several times. She gave me a handwritten ledger Thomas had kept, a record of where the money came from and where some of it went. The sources of the deposits were varied. Sometimes it was overtime pay Thomas had funneled into the account instead of our joint account. Sometimes it was bonuses from work. Sometimes it was money from side construction jobs Thomas had done on weekends that he'd never mentioned to me. The expenditures were even more varied. $20,000 to my brother Robert to save his house in 2008. $35,000 for Diane's surgery in 2018. Multiple payments to Marcus during college totaling about $40,000. $15,000 to Thomas's cousin when his business was failing. $18,000 to our daughter Jennifer when she was going through her divorce and couldn't afford a lawyer. $12,000 to help our church rebuild after storm damage. Smaller amounts to various friends and family members in need. Thomas had been a secret benefactor to dozens of people over 3 decades, all without telling me. All while I'd believed we were living on a tight budget and couldn't afford to help people. I felt a complicated mix of emotions. Pride that Thomas had been generous. Anger that he'd lied to me. Confusion about why he felt the need to hide his generosity. Betrayal that he'd made major financial decisions without consulting me. I also had to confront the people who'd received Thomas's money and never told me about it. I started with my brother Robert. When I called and told him I knew about the $20,000, he was quiet for a long moment. Robert, did you know Thomas was hiding this money from me? Anne, I didn't ask questions. I was desperate. I was about to lose my house. Thomas offered to help, and I took it. I didn't think about where the money came from. He made you promise not to tell me? Yes, he said you'd worry, that you'd feel obligated to help when you couldn't afford it. He said this way he could help me without burdening you. But Robert, that money was as much mine as it was Thomas's. We were married. He didn't have the right to give away $20,000 without telling me. You're right. I see that now. I'm sorry, Anne. Did you ever pay him back? No, he told me to pay it forward someday to help someone else when I could. The conversation with Jennifer was similar. She'd received $18,000 during her divorce, money that had helped her pay legal fees and get back on her feet. Mom, I asked Dad for help. I was desperate. He said he had some money saved and could help me. I didn't know it was secret money. I didn't know he was hiding it from you. Did he ask you not to tell me? Yes, he said you were stressed enough about my divorce and he didn't want you worrying about money on top of everything else. Jennifer, I had a right to know. If we had $18,000 to give you, I should have been part of that decision. I understand that now. I'm sorry, Mom. Even Marcus, who'd received help with college tuition, hadn't known the money was from a secret account. Dad would just transfer money to my account and say, "Here's some help with tuition." I thought it was from his regular salary. I didn't know he was hiding money from you, Mama. Every conversation was painful. Not because these people had done anything wrong by accepting help, but because each one revealed another layer of Thomas's deception. I also had to confront the fact that Thomas's intentions, while perhaps good, were deeply paternalistic. He'd decided what I could handle knowing. He'd decided what financial obligations we could afford. He'd decided to help people without consulting me. He'd treated me like a child who needed to be protected from financial realities rather than as an equal partner in our marriage. I started seeing a therapist, Dr. Rachel Morrison, to help process this betrayal. In our sessions, I poured out my confusion, anger, and grief. Anne, Dr. Morrison said during one session, what Thomas did was a form of financial infidelity. Even though he wasn't spending the money on an affair or gambling or anything like that, he was still deceiving you about your marital finances. That's a serious betrayal. But he was using it to help people. He was being generous. Generosity done in secret with shared marital assets isn't really generosity. It's control. Thomas controlled your family's financial narrative. He decided who got help and how much, all without your input. He said he was protecting me. Diane said he didn't want me to worry. Anne, protection and control often look the same on the surface. But true partnership means trusting your spouse enough to include them in difficult decisions. Thomas didn't trust you to be part of financial discussions about helping family members. That's not protection, that's infantilization. Her words stung because they were true. Thomas had treated me like someone who couldn't handle the truth, someone who needed to be sheltered from financial realities, and I'd never suspected. For 33 years, I'd believed we were full partners in our marriage, making decisions together, building our life together. Now I understood that Thomas had been making major decisions alone, hiding money and controlling our financial narrative without my knowledge. I also had to deal with the practical reality of the money. Diane transferred all $92,000 to my account as promised. It was a substantial amount, more than I'd expected to have at this point in my life, but it felt tainted. This money represented 33 years of lies. Every dollar was evidence of Thomas's deception. Part of me wanted to give it all away, to reject this legacy of dishonesty. But the practical side of me knew that was foolish. I was 72, living on a fixed income, facing potential medical expenses and home repairs. This money could provide security for my remaining years. So I kept it. But I also decided to use it differently than Thomas had, with full transparency. I called a family meeting with Marcus and Jennifer. I showed them all the bank statements, explained what Thomas had done, and told them about the money I'd recovered. I want you both to know exactly what your father did, the good and the bad. He was generous and helped people, including both of you. But he also lied to me, to all of us, about our family's finances. And I want to make sure this kind of deception never happens again in our family. Mama, Marcus said, how do you feel about what Dad did? Complicated. I'm proud he helped people. I'm angry he lied to me. I'm confused about why he felt the need to hide it. I'm grieving the marriage I thought I had, which turns out to have been built on secrets. Do you still love him? Jennifer asked. I thought about that question carefully. I love the man I thought he was, the man who was honest and treated me as an equal partner. But I'm learning that man wasn't entirely real. There was another Thomas, one who kept secrets, who made unilateral decisions, who didn't trust me enough to be honest. I don't know how I feel about that, Thomas. We talked for hours about money, about trust, about how secrets erode relationships, even when the underlying actions might be well-intentioned. And I made a decision. I would use this money, but I would do it openly with full transparency. If I helped someone financially, my children would know about it. If I made a major financial decision, I'd discuss it with them first. No more secrets, no more hidden accounts, no more financial deception. I also decided to confront the broader implications of Thomas's actions. So I wrote letters to the people who'd received his money, not demanding repayment, but asking them to understand the full context of what had happened. To Robert, the money Thomas gave you came from a secret account he kept hidden from me for 33 years. While I'm glad you didn't lose your house, I need you to understand that this money was stolen from our marital partnership. Thomas made a unilateral decision to give you $20,000 without consulting me. That was wrong, even if the outcome was good. To Diane, you helped Thomas maintain a lie for 33 years. When he died, you continued that lie for 18 more months. I understand you thought you were honoring his wishes, but those wishes were based on deception. You should have told me immediately about that account. To Jennifer, your father loved you and wanted to help you through your divorce, but the way he did it, by secretly giving you money he'd hidden from me, was wrong. I hope you'll learn from this that true help shouldn't come with lies attached. I didn't send these letters immediately. I sat with them for weeks, revising them, thinking about what I really wanted to say. In the end, I sent simpler versions, letters that expressed my feelings without demanding anything in return, because I realized that what I needed wasn't apologies or explanations. What I needed was to speak my truth, to finally have a voice in a financial narrative that had been controlled by Thomas without my knowledge. About a year after discovering the secret account, I was sorting through more of Thomas's papers when I found something else, a letter, sealed in an envelope with my name on it, tucked into the bottom of the box where I'd originally found the bank statement. My hands shook as I opened it. The letter was in Thomas's handwriting, dated 2 weeks before he died. Annie, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and you've probably found the account. I know you're angry. You have every right to be. I kept this secret from you for 33 years, and I'm ashamed of that. I told myself I was protecting you, but the truth is, I was protecting myself. I was afraid you'd think I didn't trust you, or that you'd be angry about the money I gave away to help people. I was afraid of the fights we'd have about what we could afford and who deserved help. So I took the cowardly way out. I just did it all in secret. That was wrong. You deserve to be part of those decisions. You deserve to know the truth about our finances. I robbed you of your voice in our marriage, and I'm sorry. The money is for you now. Use it however you want. And Annie, please know this. I loved you. I always loved you. Everything I did, even the lying, came from a place of wanting to protect and provide for you. I know that doesn't excuse it, but I need you to know that my lies were never about not loving you. They were about my own fear and weakness. I'm sorry I wasn't brave enough to be honest with you. I hope someday you can forgive me. Love always, Thomas. I read the letter 3 times, tears streaming down my face. Thomas had known I'd find out. He'd left this letter as an explanation, an apology, a confession, and it changed something in me. I was still angry at the deception, still hurt by the lies, still grieving the marriage I'd thought I had, but I also understood something I hadn't before. Thomas had been flawed, deeply flawed. He'd made terrible choices about honesty and partnership, but he'd also loved me. In his own broken, imperfect way, he'd loved me. That didn't excuse what he'd done, but it helped me understand it. Now, if you're listening to this story, if you've discovered financial secrets in your own marriage, if you've learned that your spouse was hiding money or making major financial decisions without your knowledge, I need you to hear this. Secrets erode trust more deeply than any single betrayal. Financial deception within a marriage is not just dishonesty, it is emotional abandonment. It's your spouse deciding that you can't be trusted with the truth, that you're not an equal partner, that your voice doesn't matter. You have every right to be angry, every right to feel betrayed, every right to grieve the marriage you thought you had. Here's what you need to do if you discover financial deception. First, get the full picture. Find all the accounts, all the statements, all the evidence of what was hidden. You can't address a problem you don't fully understand. Second, secure your own finances. Make sure you have access to your own money, your own accounts, your own financial security. Don't rely entirely on a spouse who's proven they'll lie about money. Third, seek professional help, both legal and therapeutic. A lawyer can help you understand your rights and options. A therapist can help you process the betrayal and decide how you want to move forward. Fourth, demand transparency going forward. If you're going to continue in the relationship, there can be no more secrets. Financial openness must be non-negotiable. And fifth, speak your truth. Tell your spouse, your children, whoever needs to know exactly how this deception affected you. Don't suffer in silence to protect someone else's reputation. True healing begins only when hidden truths are confronted openly. I confronted the truth about Thomas's deception. I recovered the hidden money. I spoke openly with my children and family about what had happened. And slowly, painfully, I began to heal. Not by pretending the betrayal didn't happen, but by acknowledging it fully and deciding who I wanted to be in the wake of that truth. I chose to be someone who valued honesty above all else, someone who demanded transparency in relationships, someone who refused to keep secrets that eroded trust. I chose to be different than Thomas had been. Somewhere in Charleston, there's a 72-year-old widow who discovered her husband had hidden nearly $100,000 from her over 33 years of marriage, who grieved not just his death, but the death of the honest partnership she thought they shared, who recovered the money, confronted the lies, and rebuilt her life on a foundation of radical transparency, who's still standing, still healing, still choosing truth over comfortable lies. You can too. Demand honesty, reject secrets, build relationships on transparency, not deception. Your voice matters. Your partnership matters. Your right to know the truth about your own life matters. Don't let anyone, even someone you love, take that from you. Stand strong. Speak your truth. Choose healing over hiding. You deserve nothing less.